The morning sun hit the quiet cul-de-sac of Maple Ridge like gold poured over asphalt. It was the kind of neighborhood where everyone's lawn looked copy-pasted, same shade of green, same hedges trimmed like geometric art. And right at the heart of it all stood Karen Whitmore, the self-proclaimed queen of the Homeowners Association. I'm Jake Miller, 34, a mechanic who somehow scraped enough to buy a house here after my divorce. I didn't fit the mold. No spotless SUV, no live, laugh, love sign in the kitchen, and definitely no interest in HOA meetings. That made me a target. Karen had been on my case since day one. About my old Chevy parked too close to the curb, about my garden hose being visible from the street, even about the color of my mailbox. I tried to keep my head down, but that all changed one Monday morning. I woke up to find her Lexus SUV parked right across my driveway. Not just blocking it, practically glued to it. My first thought was that it was some kind of mistake. Maybe she'd had guests over. Maybe her kid moved it. But then I saw the HOA notice taped to my door. Notice of violation. Unapproved modifications to front yard decor. Remove the wind chime immediately. Karen Whitmore, HOA president. I stared at the paper, then at her car sitting smugly in my spot. That was no mistake. That was Karen's way of saying, I own this neighborhood, and you don't belong. I tried knocking on her door first. No answer. I waited an hour. Then two. By noon, I called her twice and left a polite voicemail. Nothing. By evening, I'd had enough. I rolled my garage door up, pulled out a thick chain I used for locking tool crates, and wrapped it around the gate that led to the community's shared driveway area. Karen's car was inside that gate. I padlocked it shut. Let's see how the queen of HOA likes a taste of her own rules, I muttered. It wasn't revenge, not yet. I told myself I'd unlock it as soon as she called me back. But she didn't. Days passed, and what started as a petty moment of satisfaction began to spiral into something I couldn't control. By Wednesday, her car was still there. By Friday, she was losing her mind. And by Sunday, half the neighborhood was involved. That's when things really started to get out of hand. By Thursday morning, I was already regretting it. The chain was still tight around the community gate, and Karen's Lexus gleamed under the late summer sun like a taunt I couldn't ignore. I thought about unlocking it, until I saw her marching down the driveway in her signature floral blouse and oversized sunglasses, phone in hand, fury in every step. Jake, she screamed from across the pavement. What the hell is this? I leaned against my fence, coffee in hand, pretending to be calm. Looks like the gate's locked, Karen. Guess someone must have misplaced the key. Her voice went sharp. You did this, didn't you? You locked my car in here. That's vandalism. That's a felony. I shrugged. Parking across my driveway's a violation, too. HOA rules, right? She blinked, momentarily stunned that I dared use her own words against her. Then she jabbed a finger in my direction. You think this is funny? I'll have the board fine you so hard you'll wish you never moved here. Go ahead, I said. But until you move your car, it's staying right there. She stormed off, muttering something about calling the sheriff. But no one came that day, or the next. What had happened, though, was the gossip. By Friday, the cul-de-sac was buzzing like a beehive. Neighbors stood on porches pretending to water plants while they whispered. Kids rode their bikes in circles, chanting, Karen got locked in. Karen got locked in. I caught glimpses of her pacing around her car, talking to someone on speakerphone, snapping photos of the gate for evidence. The more she raged, the more she embarrassed herself. The HOA meeting that week was supposed to be about new parking guidelines, but it turned into a full-on witch trial. She's gone too far, said Mrs. Andrews from 2 doors down. She's been picking on Jake since March, someone else chimed in. Even Tom, her usual lapdog on the HOA board, muttered. Honestly, Karen, maybe let this one go. That hit her pride harder than any fine ever could. By Saturday, she'd filed an official complaint, but since the shared driveway was technically private property and the gate was legally mine to maintain, the sheriff couldn't intervene without a court order. She was stuck. Every morning, she had to walk half a mile to where her husband parked their second car on the other side of the neighborhood. Every afternoon, I'd catch her glaring daggers as I sat on my porch sipping lemonade. Petty? Maybe. But the truth was, I was tired of being pushed around. Then, Sunday evening, I saw something strange. A man in a suit standing outside my fence, clipboard in hand, talking to Karen. She wasn't done fighting. She was just getting started. Sunday evening bled into chaos. The man in the suit turned out to be Richard Halpern, an HOA attorney Karen had called in to resolve a serious community violation. He looked like every corporate lawyer stereotype come to life. Slick hair, expensive shoes, no soul. I was sitting on my porch when Karen marched up with him, her phone out, already recording. "There he is," she snapped. "That's the man who illegally restrained my vehicle for an entire week." Richard nodded gravely, as if she were the victim of a national tragedy. "Mr. Miller," he said, "you're in violation of Article 7, Section 4 of the Maple Ridge HOA Charter. Obstruction of community access." I smirked. "You mean the same article that says residents can't park in front of another's driveway?" "Because that's what she did." Richard hesitated, just long enough for Karen to notice the weakness. She stepped forward, voice rising. "You're done, Jake. You're going to pay every fine, every day of this nonsense. You think you can humiliate me in front of my neighbors?" I stayed calm. "You did that yourself, Karen." Her face turned red. "You're going to regret this." The next morning, she started her campaign. HOA newsletters went out calling me a safety hazard. She sent letters to every neighbor about Jake Miller's illegal activity. She even had a couple of board members leave fake violation notices taped to my door. By midweek, my property looked like a crime scene. Paper warnings everywhere, spray paint on my mailbox that said, "Rule breaker," and someone even slashed my front tire. That's when I realized this wasn't about parking anymore. This was war. I decided to fight back the only way Karen understood, publicly. I took every HOA notice she'd ever sent me. The wind chime warning, the mailbox complaint, even one about my lawn height, and pinned them to a wooden board on my front yard with a big sign that said, "Karen's Rules, Beware the HOA Queen." By noon, the neighborhood was gathered around, phones out, recording. A few neighbors laughed. Some clapped. Karen came storming out of her house, screaming, "Take that down." I didn't move. "You love the spotlight, don't you, Karen? Enjoy it." Then, the sound of police sirens echoed down the street. 2 patrol cars rolled in, lights flashing. She'd actually done it. She called the cops. An officer approached me. "Sir, we got a report of property damage and harassment." Karen pointed at me like she was presenting a criminal. "That's him. He locked me in. He's harassing me. He's terrorizing this community." But before I could speak, a dozen neighbors stepped forward. "No," Mrs. Andrews said. "He didn't. We all saw what she did." The officer looked between us, me, calm and quiet, and Karen, shaking with rage. And that was the first time I saw it in her eyes, fear. Because the neighborhood wasn't hers anymore. The police didn't arrest anyone that night. They just took statements, wrote down a few details, and told us both to work it out civilly. But the moment those cruisers rolled away, the silence that followed was heavier than anything I'd ever felt on Maple Ridge. Karen stood there trembling, mascara streaked from the stress, her pristine HOA image cracked wide open for everyone to see. The neighbors had turned against her. The control she once had, gone. She didn't say a word to me that night, just stared for a long, broken moment before retreating inside. For the first time, she looked small. By morning, her Lexus was gone from behind the gate. I found the chain neatly folded on my porch with a note taped to it. "Congratulations, Jake. You win. KW." It should have felt like victory, but it didn't. The cul-de-sac was quiet that week, eerily so. No HOA notices. No newsletters. Even the board meetings stopped. Word spread that Karen had taken a personal leave from her position. I thought it was over, until Friday evening, when I saw her standing by her mailbox, staring at the empty space where her Lexus used to sit. For a moment, I almost walked inside. But something stopped me. Maybe guilt. Maybe understanding. "Hey," I said, approaching slowly. Didn't mean for it to go that far. She didn't look at me. "You humiliated me, Jake." I sighed. "You've been humiliating people here for years. I just gave you a mirror." That finally made her turn. Her eyes were tired, less fiery now. "You think I like doing this? Keeping things perfect? Making sure everyone follows the same rules?" She shook her head. "My husband left 2 years ago. The only thing I had control over was this street." It hit me then. All the pettiness, the rules, the constant control, it wasn't just about power. It was about fear. Fear of losing the one thing that hadn't abandoned her. I nodded slowly. "Maybe it's time to let someone else take the reins." She smiled weakly. "Yeah, Maybe. A week later, the HOA voted for a new president, Mrs. Andrews. Karen officially resigned. She started gardening, real gardening, not the kind the HOA manual approved of. I'd see her trimming roses with dirt on her hands and a little piece on her face. As for me, I took down the Karen's rules board, hung up a new wind chime in its place, the same one she'd tried to ban months ago. It swayed gently in the evening breeze, chiming like laughter. Sometimes, I still catch her walking by, glancing at that chime with a faint, knowing smirk. No war, no rules, just neighbors learning how to live again. In the end, I didn't just lock her car in. I locked us both into a week that changed everything.